Hare Krishna. So, welcome all the devotees. It's a very uncomfortable situation trying to speak something about great souls like Srila Shukdev Goswami and somebody like Parikshit Maharaj, and also speaking about the conversation that happened between these two great souls. And honestly, I'm not the right person, but over a period of time, last so many years that I'm staying in the ashram, I've heard from those who relish the Bhagavatam. First person I met who relished the Bhagavatam is Gaurang Prabhu. I have heard Radhika Vallabh Prabhu quoting a lot from the Bhagavatam. Pavaneshwar Prabhu is another person who, relishes the Bhagavatam. Balaram Shakti Prabhu and, our own Gaur Vilas Prabhu. It's not that others don't relish, but if you hear these devotees classes, then you can see so many deep lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So whatever I'm going to speak today is basically, some remnants from all these devotees. Personally, I don't have much taste for the Srimad Bhagavatam, but whatever I've heard from devotees, I have that faith that when devotees are saying this is what is necessary in today's age, at least I have that faith. So based on that faith, I think the devotees are requesting me to speak, so that to speak something in front of you, at least I'll study something and I can speak something. In 2006, Madan Gopal Prabhu would handle the IYS Yatra. And Madan Gopal Prabhu, Baldev Prabhu, myself, Nanda Gop Prabhu is here, and Radha Dyuti Prabhu. 5 of us, we went on IYS Yatra Advance Party. So that year we had planned to do IYS Yatra at two places. Kurukshetra, where the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, and Shuktal, where the Bhagavatam was spoken. And in between 25th of December and 1st of January, we did advance party of Shuktal at Kurukshetra. I am not sure how many of you are aware what is the temperature in the last week of December in Kurukshetra and Shukdal. So it was really completely freezing temperature, and there were many interesting things that happened. Nandagop, Prabhu knows. Yes. Somehow that IYS Yatra never happened. And after 2006, now in 2025, we are so fortunate that the current IYS team, led by especially Pradyumna Mishra Prabhu and the VTA devotees, and Chaitanya Leela Prabhu is assisting so much, and all the other devotees, Uddhav Priya Prabhu I see, and all the Prem Kishore Prabhu and all these devotees, after a wait of 19 years only, they have brought the IYS Yatra to Shuktal. So let us thank the organizers by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. It's really special. And I hope that somebody will take inspiration from this, and next year we can go to Kurukshetra. I had heard a sentence in my childhood: the pen is mightier than the sword. How many of you heard this? So, what does it mean exactly? The sword can kill people. So, can the sword also kill people? Because the pen is mightier than the sword. Is it the inference that pen will, you can go with a pen and kill people with the sharp nib? What does it mean? Can anybody just speak a few words? What does it mean? Pen is mightier than sword. कलम बंदूक से ज्यादा खतरनाक है. Yes, bro.
Means that a pen can say the ideologies of people and thought process, whereas a sword will be used to we can eliminate a person but not the thought.
Give him a big hand.
Nice.
Oh. Thank you. Yeah. So Prabhu is saying what it means is that with a sword you can kill somebody, but you may not be able to change their thoughts. Nathan Hale was one person. He's an American and he was fighting 400 years back for American independence. So that time the British colonizers, they caught hold of Nathan Hale and they wanted to hang him. So when they were taking to hang him, he said, you can take Nathan out of America, but you cannot take America out of Nathan. So something like that he's saying, that you can kill somebody, but you cannot change his ideology, but by the pen, when you write something, you can change the ideology. How many revolutions in this world you have heard which happened based on weapons? Any revolution? He's saying the French Revolution happened based on weapons. Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette, they were guillotined. What another revolution? Yes, somebody said. Chinese Revolution. What about the Russian Revolution? The Tsar and the Queen, they were overthrown with the help of weapons. In India, something happened in 1857. What happened in 1857? Mangal Pandey, yeah. So how was the resistance started to the Britishers? Rani Lakshmibai, India, yes. So the Indian Revolution happened based on weapons. The French Revolution happened based on weapons. The Chinese Revolution, the Russian Revolution, so many other revolutions also, they happened by weapons. And we started the class by saying that the pen is mightier than the sword. So if the pen is mightier than the sword, and all of us are aware of so many revolutions that happened by the sword, can any one of us tell us any one revolution that happened by the pen? Otherwise, this sentence, the pen is mightier than the sword, is only a poetry. अरे तो कहने की बातें हैं, ऐसे तो कविता तो बहुत लोग कुछ कर, मैं तेरे लिए चांद तारे लेके आऊंगा. कौन सा चांद, कौन सा तारा? So is this sentence, the pen is mightier than the sword, only a poetic sentence, or is there any revolution that was really caused by the writing of a pen? Yes. So Prabhu is saying communism. Prabhupada would say the communists from Russia, they never came to India, but they just sent their books. And two states in India, one in south and one on the east, is heavily communized. You know, it has that philosophy, but not a single person from Russia came there. Just they kept sending their books. So that's one change in thought process that happened. One personality actually caused a revolution based on the pen. And this event is foretold in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This 1.5.11. It says, Tadvag Visargo Janatagha Viplavo. So Viplava means revolution. Yasmin Pratishlokam Abadhavatyapi Namani Anantasya Yashonkitani Yat Shrunvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhavaha. So this is actually words that glorify the Supreme Lord, even if they are imperfectly composed, but they have the potency to cause a revolution in the hearts of the impious civilization. And honest people, even though there are some faults in the words, they accept it, they sing it, and they pass it on. So one such a revolution which I am going to present in front of you is caused by one very revolutionary person who never took up a sword in his whole life. His name is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So, we know Prabhupada is a saintly person, but we can see Prabhupada from this light also, that Narad Muni has foretold a time will come when one person will create a revolution in the minds of impious civilization based on the writing. What did Prabhupada write? Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita commentaries which were traded off for biscuits by his wife. His wife did not have much faith in the commentaries. So much before the Bhagavad Gita as it is that we have, Prabhupada had written a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita in India only. But she did not have money, so she gave it for biscuits. The second book that Prabhupada wrote is Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the only wealth that Srila Prabhupada carried to the West. He had 40 Indian rupees when he reached Boston. He had no dollars. His Holiness Satswarup Maharaj, he mentions, he had some dollars. Where? I'll tell you. On the boat, he sold the first set of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto only he had written. He sold it to Captain Arun Pandya, who was the ship captain. He paid him in dollars. So he had some dollars. But 40 rupees, he left India. And he was carrying 200 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was carrying a pamphlet. And that pamphlet had a photo of Prabhupada, and he said, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srimad Bhagavatam, India's message of peace and goodwill. So Prabhupada is thinking, when I'm going to the West, it's not necessary to carry dollars, but it is necessary to carry this sound vibration in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the solution to all the problems in the West. This is the solution to all the problems in the East. This is the solution to all the problems in the heavenly planets. This is the solution to all the problems in the lower planets. So this kind of faith is very rare. And that's why I mentioned that only one, at least this revolution is only in two states in India, right? The revolution that he mentioned. But what about the revolution that his divine grace caused? How many places on the planet today are affected by the revolution of the Srimad Bhagavatam? 50% of the world? 75% of the world? 90% of the world? 100% of the world? This world? Okay, seeing your silence, I can only praise that prasad that was served there. It's the effect of that prasad. Anyways. So, we have to actually really understand how potent is this medicine that hippies who had a mantra amongst themselves do not believe anybody above the age of 30, because all the young boys and girls in America at that time, they had full rebellious spirit, and their age was 20 to 25, and they said above 30 don't believe because they have their own agenda. And here was Prabhupada whose age was 70, that is more than double, but they put their trust in Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, give up meat eating. They gave it up. Follow four regulative principles. They gave it up. It's important to understand the situation in which Prabhupada was preaching. Sometimes Prabhupada has conducted marriages of the girl and the boy, and next to the girl and the boy was a child which belonged to them. So before marriage, they were staying together and they had a child also. To live with such people, to guide them, and to make them accept the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered to be the Amalam Puranam, is not easy. One of the bona fide four sampradayas in India, one time our ISKCON devotees were talking to some sannyasis of that sampradaya, and they saw one film of Prabhupada from the old times, Prabhupada in the West, and he was surrounded by all these Westerners and his chanting and like that. And they said, in our sampradaya, we don't allow the sannyasi to mix with the ordinary masses. According to their philosophy, somewhere in the Vedas it is said, the subtle body of the living entity, the Atma, it extends 3 feet outside the gross body. So I'm sitting here, my subtle body is still here. And he said, that's why we want to maintain our leaders, the sannyasis, in the purest form. So what they do is, even today, the sannyasi is in the center, and there are at least 10 grihastha devotees surrounding the sannyasi, and any ordinary person on the street, they cannot go close to the sannyasi. Why? Because that subtle body, the thoughts, the mind, will touch the subtle body of the sannyasi and it can contaminate the sannyasi. So when they saw how Prabhupada was freely mixing with the Westerners and influencing them en masse, whatever is the situation of that person, drunk, this, that, whatever it is, but Prabhupada, just by his chanting and just by his voice, he transformed their hearts. These people were saying, this is unbelievable. How can this person do this? After the disappearance of his divine grace, one of his godbrothers was invited in one temple in Rome, the ISKCON temple in Rome. And typically European architecture has a lot of fountains. In the middle of the city, there will be a fountain. And typically European fountains will have naked figures. That's considered to be beauty. So on the fountain were many naked men and women, sculptures. And this old godbrother of Srila Prabhupada was being brought in a car from the airport to the temple. And when that car passed by the fountain, this sannyasi, who is a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, he closed his eyes. Mlecha, mlecha. He closed his eyes. Mlecha, mlecha means dirty, dirty, fallen, fallen, contaminated, contaminated. So the devotees who were driving this godbrother of Srila Prabhupada to the temple, they realized this person, he is of the same status as Srila Prabhupada. It was impossible for him to see a naked, without clothes, marble sculpture of a young man and a young woman. And he closed his eyes and he started shouting, Mlecha, Mlecha. He was saying, why did you bring me here to this dirty place? And then they were thinking, his godbrother, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he did not see sculptures. He was surrounded by live people who engaged in lot of things. How could Srila Prabhupada, who comes from the same culture, the same background, and roughly the same age, not ever get affected by the dirt that was always there around him? And through that dirt, while staying in that dirt, he not only maintained his own pure consciousness, but he remembered the words of his spiritual master that if you ever get money, print books, spread the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the world. Prithvi te acheta nagaradigram. How could our spiritual master do this? And not he remained pure. Not only he never shouted mlecha mlecha, but he converted the hearts of these young boys and girls. So what was this personality? So this is, one revolution that is na bhuto na bhavishyati. It has never happened in the past. All the revolutions that happened in the past were almost always on the basis of the sword. And probably after Srila Prabhupada, we don't see anybody who can really touch people's hearts just based on sound vibration and his own personal purity. So where did this faith in the Srimad Bhagavatam come from? It comes in the parampara. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, they have written that if all the books in the world get drowned, if all the books in the world get destroyed, at least if one book is there, Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no loss. So whenever you go to any library, books on architecture, geology, physics, metallurgy, whatever you take, according to Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, if all that knowledge gets destroyed, if Srimad Bhagavatam stays back, there's not much big loss. The details, again, they need to be researched. But what has been researched by Shukdev Goswami and what has been accepted by Srila Parikshit Maharaj, that is very important. That needs to be preserved. So we'll discuss a little bit about these two personalities because we are here in this place. We'll talk a little bit about the King Parikshit. Who is Parikshit? Parikshit is in the lineage of the Pandavas. His grandfather is the great Arjun. What is so great about Arjun? Krishna says, whenever I come to this world, you also are there with me. How many of us can claim this? That Krishna says, whenever I come, you are there with me. What must be the closeness of the relationship of Arjun and Krishna? And the son of Arjun is Abhimanyu. And in the Mahabharata it is mentioned, as a child, Abhimanyu sometimes, when he would get dirty, then Krishna has washed Abhimanyu with his own hands. So first Arjun is very dear, and then Krishna's own sister Subhadra is married to Arjun, and their son is Abhimanyu. So Abhimanyu is also very dear to Krishna. And that Abhimanyu married Uttara, who's very dear to Arjun because Arjun taught her as a dancer, Brihanalla. And that Uttara and Abhimanyu were married. And the seed of this Abhimanyu and Uttara is Parikshit. So Parikshit's grandfather is a great devotee. Parikshit's father is a great devotee. Parikshit's mother is a great devotee. Parikshit's grandmother is a great devotee. So from this perspective, we can just understand Parikshit. There's a beautiful chapter in Krishna book which says, Wonderful Krishna. And in that Wonderful Krishna chapter, there's all glorification of Krishna by the Brajavasis. In the evening, in Nandagaon today also, there is a place called Nanda Baitak. It's near Yashoda Kund. When you go to Yashoda Kund, and before that there is Nanda Baitak on the left side. So evening, Nanda Maharaj would come and sit there, and all the Brajavasis would come and sit there, and they would have a talk. And the recording of that talk is Wonderful Krishna. So all the Brajavasis, today Krishna did this, Krishna did this, and today Krishna did this. At the end, Nanda Maharaj says, whatever you are saying about Krishna is difficult for me to accept, because this Krishna at my home, when there is lightning in the sky, he goes running behind his mother's sari and hides there. And then they all say, ha 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 ha. They just laugh. So this is everyday evening katha in Nandagaon. The Wonderful Krishna. In one of the purports in Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, Prabhupada writes one purport about Wonderful Parikshit. Prabhupada writes, the birth of Parikshit is really wonderful. Why? Because he had already died. But Krishna revived him. So his birth is wonderful. Prabhupada writes, the activities of Parikshit are also wonderful. Why? Because Parikshit is the only person who threatened personified Kali by looking at him in his eyes. Today, all of us are being ruled by the servants of Kali. There are many people in this world who encourage us to break the four regulative principles, to engage in bad habits. They're basically servants of servants of servants of Kali. Kali is the personification of all the bad habits. That Kali, can any one of us even face him? But that Kali, at one point of time, Parikshit was touring around his kingdom and he saw Kali. We don't have time to get into the details. As soon as he saw Kali, he took out his sword. He was totally unafraid of Kali and he put his sword on Kali's neck. And he said, just because Krishna, the Supreme Lord, has disappeared from this planet, do you feel you can rule on this planet? Krishna may have gone, but I am still there. I won't allow you to do this. I will kill you right now. And Kali, the person who's shaking the whole world today, all the nations, all the civilizations, the rural people are also being shaken by Kali through the small smartphone, and all the city people are also being shaken by Kali. That Kali started shaking by the sword of Parikshit Maharaj, and he said, "I'm really very sorry." He took out and he said, "Please give me a place to stay." And Parikshit Maharaj said, "Go and stay in that place where the four regulative principles are broken." And Kali thought, wow, I got my place. And Kali went around the kingdom of Parikshit Maharaj. And he came back and he said, you fooled me. You said that I have a place to stay where the four regulative principles are broken. आपकी पूरी राज्य को मैं छान के आया, एक भी जगह मुझे नहीं मिली जहां four regulative principles are being broken. What must be the rule of Parikshit? Can Kali come back and tell any rural, I did not find any place where the four principles are broken? What purity, what administration, what Vaishnav character this Parikshit has. One minister was testing, the king was testing the intelligence of the minister. And he said, you are always talking about God. Is there anything that God cannot do? Is there anything that God cannot do? Because God means complete. Om Purnamada. So complete means there must be something that he cannot do. That's complete. So the minister said, yes, there is one thing that God cannot do. So, batao, kya hai? Now he wants to trap. So he said, God cannot speak this sentence, get out of my kingdom. Because everywhere is God's kingdom. So he can never say, get out of my kingdom. There's no place which is not God's kingdom. Sarvasya, aham sarvasya prabho. So similarly in Parikshit Maharaj, there was no place where the four regulative principles are being broken. Kali came back and he said, you have to give me some place. That time Parikshit Maharaj said, okay, go to that place where unnecessary gold is being hoarded together. जरूरत से ज्यादा जहां पे सोना पैसा इकट्ठा हो रहा है वहां तुम रह सकते हो. That is how Kali got his place. Otherwise, Kali was about to be finished off. So Prabhupada says the birth of Parikshit is wonderful. The activities of Parikshit are wonderful. I am adding something. The hearing of Parikshit is wonderful because Parikshit got cursed one day when he could not control his thirst. And under this tree, for 7 days and 7 nights, Parikshit is hearing Katha. And for 7 days and 7 nights, he never became hungry. He never became thirsty. He did not even got up to stretch for a Gauranga break. He did not even stretch his legs like this. He's just, very eagerly listening to every single word that Shukdev is speaking. And then Prabhupada says, the departure of Parikshit is also wonderful. Why is the departure of Parikshit wonderful? Because he is the only person who advance notice of death. None of us will get an advance notice, but Parikshit was told 7 days later you will die. And Parikshit, instead of taking out his sword, the person who can threaten Kali could have threatened the small boy, 7-year-old boy who cursed Parikshit. कली को अगर आंखें दिखा सकते हैं तो 7 साल के छोटे बच्चे को तो आंखें दिखा ही सकते हैं. But Parikshit went into a different state of consciousness only. Parikshit is remembering how Krishna saved him in his mother's womb. This is one quality of a Vaishnava, that Vaishnava is very grateful. Dhruv Maharaj when he was a 5-year-old boy. So he was insulted by his stepmother. Then he went to his own mother, and mother said, "Don't think ill of those who think ill of you. They will meet their own destiny, but you don't think ill about them." And then she told him that you should go and search out for the Lord in the forest. So then Dhruv Maharaj went to the forest. In 6 months, he saw the Lord. Then he came back, and then over a period of time, his father retired, made Dhruva the king. How many years did Dhruv rule as a king? Anybody remembers from the Bhagavatam? 36,000 years. And after 36,000 years, one day the Vaikuntha Viman descended. And when Dhruv Maharaj sat on the Viman, he asked one question to the Vishnudutas. He said, "My mother is the person who caused this consciousness change in me. What about my mother?" And they showed another Vaikuntha Viman in the sky and said that that is your mother also going to Vaikuntha. So Srila Prabhupada, he writes there in that purport, "I am also preaching in the Western world, and it is possible that one of my disciples becomes a pure devotee and goes back home back to Godhead. I am hopeful that when he goes back home back to Godhead, he can recommend my name and I can also go back home back to Godhead." So Dhruv Maharaj, 36,000 years later, after ruling like a powerful king, the senses will not go down. The Lord had promised him, your senses will not go weak, you will never become old, your fame will always spread. With all this Ashirvad, successful regime of 36,000 years. And after that, when Vaikuntha Viman is descending and waiting for him to climb, he performed his sadhana and then he climbed that Viman. That time he is remembering the person who gave him direction 36,000 years back. If somebody helped us in our spiritual life 36 years back, will we remember him? Especially when Vaikuntha Viman comes and there is no, there is no note written that आपको जिसने मार्गदर्शन किया था उसके लिए भी वैकुंठ विमान आया है. Most probably, about myself, I will feel proud that I have perfected my sadhana, but my teacher probably has not perfected his sadhana, and that's why I'll become proud. But Dhruv Maharaj remembered 36,000 years back, his mother had told him something, and because of which his life had changed. So Parikshit also is remembering he had a long lifespan of success, but he remembers, in my womb, before I was born, who had saved me? Krishna had saved me. So that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and if he could save me in my womb even before I was born, can he not save me when this small boy has cursed me? He can. But still, this curse happened. So he is saying it must be by the will of Krishna. Krishna could save me from Brahmastra. He can definitely save me from Brahma Shap. Which is greater, the Brahmastra or a Shap of a Brahman? The Brahmastra. So if Krishna can save me from Brahmastra, in the demigods, so many times the Ramayana, Mahabharata, so many times the description, Brahmastra chala, sab log dar gaye, right? It is as if the annihilation of the world will happen. Puri dunya khatam hone wali hai. That Brahmastra Krishna saved Parikshit. But now that today I have received this sharp, Krishna did not save me. It means it is by the permission of Krishna. He just changed his consciousness and he accepted that sharp. तस्यैव मेघस्य परावरेशो व्यासक्तचित्तस्य गृहेषु अभीक्ष्णम् निर्वेदमूलो द्विजशापरूपो यत्र प्रसक्तं भयमाशु धत्ते. He's saying, Nirvedamulo, to remove my attachment from the roots. I have developed a lot of attachment to my position as a king. I have become attached to the comfort. Nirveda Mulo, to remove my attachment from the roots itself. Dvijashapa Rupo. Krishna himself has appeared in the form of the curse of the Brahman. There is nothing wrong that is happening in my life. So imagine you are a king who has benefited the whole world. You have threatened the only one problem to the world, that is Kali. And then one small boy curses you. You can take out your sword and kill that small boy. You can tell your army to destroy that whole Brahman village. But none of that. He does not try to change the situation. He tries to change his consciousness. So many times we pray to God to change our situation. but God has sent that situation in our life to change us. So Parikshit did not pray to Krishna to change the situation. Parikshit said, "You have yourself come into my life to change my consciousness. I think I was too much attached to my position. Now let me give up my attachment and let me accept this with grace." So no curse, no attacks. Parikshit takes off his royal clothes. He hands over his kingdom to his greatest. He had four sons. The eldest son is Janmejaya. So he puts Janmejaya on the throne and he says, "Now it is time for me to hear more about Krishna." And from Hastinapur, from Delhi, he comes to this place which is on the banks of Ganges. Why the banks of Ganges? Ganga is Charnamrit, and where the Charnamrit of the Lord is flowing. It's a very holy place. So, with hopes of receiving some more understanding about life, with no complaints about anybody, Parikshit comes here searching for higher guidance. And when a king like Parikshit is cursed, that news spreads far. And from all over the universe, around 25 names are mentioned in the Bhagavatam. I just quickly narrate them just to get an understanding how many great sadhus they came here because Parikshit is cursed. Parikshit is cursed. Atri Rishi, Chavana Rishi, Sharadvan Rishi, Arishtanemi Rishi, Bhrigu Rishi, Vashishta Rishi, Parashar Rishi, Vishwamitra Rishi, Angira Rishi, Parshuram Rishi, Utathya Rishi, Indra Pramada Rishi, Idma Vahu Rishi, Medha Tithi Rishi, Devala Rishi, Arshti Shena Rishi, Bharadwaj Rishi, Gautam Rishi, Pippalada Rishi, Maitreya Rishi, Aurva Rishi. Remember Aurva? Devprayag. Kavasha Rishi, Kumbhayoni Rishi, Dvaipayan Vyasa Rishi, and Narad Rishi. All these rishis also came here because they knew Krishna loves his devotees and Krishna loves the devotees of his devotees. So, because Parikshit has done so much, definitely Krishna will arrange for some way to benefit Parikshit, and all these people came here. And when Parikshit came to this holy place on the banks of Ganges, he said, "I have only 7 days remaining. Can you please tell me what is good for me?" Some of the rishis that had come there, these are just the main names. Thousands and thousands of other rishis came. Some of them were having faith in the path of karma. So they started discussing amongst themselves and they said, "Should we tell Parikshit that you should do big, big yagyas? The only way to counteract the situation of a sharper is that you should do big, big fruitive sacrifices." But amongst themselves, they could not come to a conclusion. Some of the rishis who were sitting there were Gyanis. So they said, "Should we just come and tell ahead and tell Parikshit that the only way to counteract the situation is to go deeper into the Jnana Marga? Let us tell you deeper aspects of the Jnana Marga." But they could not come to a conclusion. There were some of the rishis who were sitting there who were practitioners of the Yoga Marga. And they said, "Should we just go and tell him, close your eyes, sit in Padmasana, Yam, Niyam, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan." Should we tell all that to Parikshit? But they could not come to a conclusion. And as these karmis were discussing and the yogis were discussing and the jnanis were discussing and Parikshit is looking, thinking, time is going, but nobody has a clear solution. At that point of time, from somewhere, one young boy came there. This boy was bluish in complexion. And surprisingly, he did not even have clothes on his body. And more surprisingly, there were some children around him and there were some village women around him. And these boys were pulling his hands. Some of them were probably throwing stones at him. Sometimes in villages, there is some madman and the kids are moving around. Majak karte ho. Hey, idhar dekh, hey, idhar. Patthar marenge like that. So that thing was happening. And this young boy, 16-year-old boy, everyone was making fun of him. He came there. As soon as he came there, something happened. What happened? All the yogis, big, big yogis who were sitting there, they stopped there. They stopped speaking. They got up. The yogis got up, the karmis got up, the jnanis got up. And everyone thought, what happened? Why is everyone getting up? And they looked in that direction, and there was this young 16-year-old boy standing there. Out of respect for this boy, all these are, many kalpas. Some of these rishis are from previous kalpas. They all got up. And those who did not understand who that boy was, they understood one thing. He is somebody who's accepted as an authority by all these sadhus. There is something special about this boy. There is a book called Dhruv and Prahlad ke upar. What is that book? Okay. What is that book? Hari Bhakti Sudhoday. Sorry. So in Hari Bhakti Sudhoday, which is a book that contains details of Dhruv Maharaj's story and Prahlad Maharaj's story. So in Hari Bhakti Sudhoday, Prabhupada often quotes from Hari Bhakti. Kacham vichinvan varam nayachet. So in that Hari Bhakti Sudhoday, there is one incident mentioned that many sages were seated together, and the discussion was happening that what is the greatest success in life. And when this discussion, the conclusion was needed, they requested Markandeya Rishi. Markandeya Rishi, at that time the age was 7 kalpas. 1 kalpa means Satya Treta Dwapar Kali. So one Satya Treta Dwapar Kali 7 times. That was the age of Markandeya Rishi. And as he was about to speak, 7-year-old Parashar is the father of Vyasa. So he entered there. When Markandeya Rishi saw Parashar, Markandeya Rishi said, I would not like to speak in the presence of somebody like Parashar. Parashar should speak. So then all the sadhus there, they are saying, your age is 7 kalpas. His age is 7 years. How he is senior to you? So Markandeya Rishi said, I am Vayo Vriddha. I am senior by age. But I can tell you what is the measurement of seniority. He said, a person's seniority is measured by how many moments he is absorbed in Krishna. So I am Vayo Vriddha, but he is Jnana Vriddha. He is always absorbed. The number of moments in 7 years that Parashar is absorbed in Krishna is greater than my absorption in Krishna in 7 kalpas. So he should speak. And then the example that he gives, Markandeya, to prove his point is that he says there may be big banyan trees somewhere, but if a small young tulsi plant is brought, whom will you worship? Everyone says tulsi. So that is the example that he gives. So similarly here, there are big rishis, but there is a 16-year-old boy who came and everyone got up. So who was this boy? We discussed about Parikshit. We'll discuss about this boy also. This boy is a very special boy. This boy is in the lineage of Vashishta Rishi. Vashishta Rishi is known for his extreme degree of tolerance, because during Vashishta Rishi's time, there was a king called Kaushika. And we don't want to get into the length of the story, but Kaushik became envious of Vashishta and he tried to snatch the Nandini cow that belonged to Vashishta, and Vashishta never ever fought against Kaushika. And a lot of things happened, but then at one point of time, this Kaushika realized my Kshatra Bal is lower than his Tapobal. Our Sri Chaitanya Prabhu yesterday, Devaprayag also mentioned this point. So Kshatriyas are typically proud of their Kshatra Bal, their armies, their strength and so on. But this Kaushika also understood, actually Vashishta Rishi's Brahma Tej is much more than my Kshatra Bal, and that is the time when he decided, I also want to become a Rishi, I don't want to become a king. And this Kaushika, he spent a lot of time trying to change his Varna from a Kshatriya to a Brahman. And there are a lot of things in that journey, but eventually when he met Lord Ramchandra in Ramayana, then he became famous as Vishwamitra Rishi. So Vishwamitra Rishi's past is Kaushika. But in that story, repeatedly it will come, Kaushika will do nonsense to Vashishta. Vashishta will never. Extremely tolerant person, Vashishta. Vashishta's son is Shakti. And Shakti is known for his surrender to Vashishta. Shakti's son is Parashar. And I just now told you about Parashar. Parashar's son is Vyasa. Who is Vyasa? Vyasa is that person who compiled all the knowledge, Vedas, which was only available in sound form. So what a lineage of Parikshit. But not just lineage of Parikshit, what a achievement of Parikshit. So some people in this world, they belong to a great family, but their behavior is third class. And there are some people in this world who belong to a very ordinary family, but their achievements are first class. मराठीमध्ये त्याला म्हणतात, याचा परिवार चांगला नाहीये पण याचं कर्तृत्व खूप मोठं आहे. But about Parikshit we say, not only he was in a great family, his achievements, his character, his behavior, his conscience is also matching his family. Similarly about this young boy also, वशिष्ठ, शक्ति, पराशर, व्यास, क्या फैमिली है ये. वो फैमिली में ये बच्चा है, but we'll hear about his achievements. Vyasa Rishi, he did not have a child, and he decided to have a child because every father wants to take his lineage ahead. Why? It's not just that bodily attachment, it is the Sanskriti that he has established, and he wants that Sanskriti or that culture to go ahead. Every king in the Mahabharata, every king in the Bhagavatam wants a son. What for? So that the culture he has established should be taken forward by the next successor. So he wants a son, but he's not getting a son. Now, typically, people in the rest of the country, they go to the Himalayas for tapasya. Vyas is already staying in Himalayas. Where will he go for tapasya? So Vyas went to the innermost parts of the Himalayas, the deepest forests of the Himalayas, where Badari trees would grow. And there for 13 years, many years it is said, he performed tapasya to get a worthy son. So because he did tapasya under Badari trees, in the most difficult part of the Himalayas, which are already most difficult for the normal people, he got a name called Badarayana. And after performing tapasya there, finally, he injected his seed in the wife's womb. And that child was conceived. 9 months passed. They are waiting for the child to be born. No birth. 1 year, 2 years. They are requesting the child. Mother is requesting the child, Beta bahar aao. But the child is saying, I don't want to come out because outside there is a lot of Maya. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this way, 13 years passed. 13-year-old child is huge, right? So actually, this boy is fully grown up 13 years. There is no, genital, congenital diseases. There is no congenital abnormality. ऐसा कुछ गलत कुछ हो नहीं रहा है. Very well functioning child, huge belly of the mother, and she's saying, "Beta bahar aao." He says, outside there is a lot of Maya. Outside there is forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. I don't want to come out. I am safe inside. So this child was Brahman realized. Sometimes we see the boards of the names of some sadhus. It's Brahmaleen so and so. Usually in India they do that. Brahmaleen sadhu. This child at 13 years of age in the womb, he is refusing to come out. He has taken that decision. I don't want to come out. We hear about the 4 Kumaras. The 4 Kumaras were born. And when at one particular time, Lord Brahma, the father, told them to get married and create progeny ahead, they said, we don't want to do it. But at least the 4 Kumaras got born and they are refusing to be married. This child is so pure. This child is so clear about this forgetfulness of Krishna. He says, I won't be born only. मैं जन्म ही नहीं लूंगा, बाहर ही नहीं आऊंगा. So now what to do? So Vyas has done so much tapasya for the child and he wants the knowledge, the Sanskriti that he has established to go forward. He understands this child is afraid of forgetfulness of the Lord and this child is afraid of Maya. Let me go to Maya Adhish. Let me go to the master of Maya. Daivihi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. So Krishna says, Mama Maya. So he travels to Dwarka and he requests Krishna in Dwarka, can you please come and convince my child to come? You just have to give him that assurance. My dear child, I give you that assurance. Maya will not affect you. As soon as he gets that assurance, he will be born. You will do me a great favor. So Krishna travels from Dwarka to Himalayas and he tells the child in the womb, my dear child, I am Krishna, I am Mayadhish. I am assuring you that if you are born, you will not be affected by Maya. Can you please come out? And Krishna leaves. This child, hearing the words and believing the words because they're coming from Krishna, he appears outside, he takes birth, but as soon as he takes birth, he leaves the home and starts walking. And Vyas Rishi is thinking, after so much tapasya, I got this son. And after that also there was so much tapasya and I convinced Krishna and now the child is born, but now the child is walking. Please wait. Oh Putra. Yam pravrajantam anupeta apete krittam. He did not even undergo purificatory sacrifices. Putra iti. The father is saying, Putra, ruko, beta, ruko. Putre titanmayataya taravo abhinedus. What happened? He's shouting, Putra, Putra. The child did not reply. The child is already going out. Only the trees replied. How come the trees replied? Because the trees also have some consciousness. And about him, Tanmayataya, Tanmaya. If some person is called Strimaya, means he's always thinking about the sea. Tanmaya means the trees also became absorbed in the consciousness of Shukdev. So they went, Putra, Putra. They are replying on behalf of Shukdev. One understanding is that from a spiritual consciousness, who is son and who is father. So he is saying, oh Putra, Putra. The trees are also saying, oh Putra, Putra. Some speakers, Bhagavatam speakers, give this understanding. If somebody wants to help, then there is some empowerment received from the Lord. The grief of Vyasa could not be tolerated by the trees because the trees saw the grief of Vyasa. Vyasa itne dukhi ho ke, Putra, Putra, ruko, ruko. The trees wanted to help Vyas. So even though they are in the low consciousness of a tree, with that desire to help Vyas, they also developed a voice and they said, Putra, Putra. So they offer a prayer to the Lord that actually I am in a human form of life, but my consciousness is that of a tree only. I never praise the Supreme Lord. ये वृक्ष कैसे कभी स्तुति नहीं करता है भगवान का, वैसे जो भागवतम स्पीकर है वो बोलते हैं मुझे ह्यूमन फॉर्म ऑफ लाइफ मिला है बट आई नेवर ग्लोरीफाई कृष्णा, आई एम लाइक ए ट्री ओनली. बट इफ आई हैव अ डिजायर टू हेल्प, then I can also speak some glorification of the Bhagavatam. So, my dear Krishna, please allow my tongue to glorify Krishna. So, this person is called Sarva Bhuta Hridayam. Our Shukdev Goswami, as he's walking away, he's described that Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Munim Anatosmi. Krishna is in the heart of everyone. Similarly, Krishna's pure devotees are also in the heart of everyone. So, our Shukdev Goswami is also in the hearts of everyone. And then this Shukdev Goswami, he went to the forest. So now Vyas is thinking what will happen, how to do. So he's running behind him. In the Brahma Vaivarta Puran, one incident is mentioned. As Shukdev is walking on the side of the road, there is a lake. And in that lake, there are a few young girls who are swimming. They're taking a bath, but they don't have any clothes. They are young girls without clothes. Shukdev has just taken birth without clothes. 16-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy. And as he's walking next to the lake, they are without clothes, he's without clothes. Young girls, young boy. What will typically happen? There will be some shame, right? If you are shameless, then Nalkur and Manigriv pastime happens. But if there is shame, then the girls will cover their bodies. The girls, they don't cover their bodies. And Vyasa, a householder, old man, he is fit to be father or at the level of the grandfather of the young girls. He is going behind Shukdev, Putra, Putra. Seeing Vyasdev with his whole beard and all, they covered their bodies out of shame. Why? It seems that females have this some seventh sense, sixth sense. If a boy or a male has a little bit of lust in the eyes, when this boy or a man with lust in his eyes looks at a woman, the woman can understand that this person has lusty thoughts. So the girls, when they saw Shukdev, although he's a young man without clothes, and Prabhupada writes, all the parts of the Shukdev were fully developed. It's not that he was not fully developed. So everything was there fit for the body, but the consciousness was that he does not distinguish between the male body and the female body. He was thinking that this is a spirit soul in a female body, this is a spirit soul in a female body. And so he did not look at the external clothes of those girls, and the girls saw that he is not looking at us, he is looking at the soul in the heart. So they never felt any shame. But Vyasa Rishi, because he's a Grihastha, although his age is senior, they immediately covered their bodies because this is Grihastha, he differentiates between male and female. So this boy went off. So now Vyas is thinking, my son is born, but now he's gone off, what to do now? So he's thinking, how did he come out? How did the boy come out? What was the reason for him to come out? Assurance by Mayadhish. But that assurance was only for protection. That assurance was not for attraction. So he decided, let me do something that has the power to bring back Shukdev. What is greater than Krishna? Love for Krishna. Krishna Prem. That's why in Vrindavan, Radharani is greater than Krishna. In Vrindavan, they will always, on all the walls, all the trees, Shri Radha, Shri Radha, Shri Radha. So the whole world worships Krishna, but in Vrindavan, Radharani is worshipped. So he said, let me glorify Krishna. So Vyas Rishi convinced two of his disciples and said, he went in this forest. So you have to go to the forest. If I go there, he will run further away. I don't want him to run further away. So you go to the forest as woodcutters. And as they were cutting wood, they chanted two shlokas only. One was glorifying the beauty of Krishna. Yesterday, when we sat for that Ganga Arati, in the beginning, our Prabhu, on that harmonium, he sang one of those shlokas. The Baraha Pidam Natavara Karnayo Karnikaram Bibradvasa Kanakakapisham Vaijayantim Chamalam. This shloka is describing Krishna has clothes like gold. He has blue Karnikar flowers on his ears, and he has a very nice Vaijayanti mala which extends to his knees. And we feel there is a flower called Vaijayanti, so this mala must be Vaijayanti mala of this Vaijayanti flowers. Actually, the nectar of devotion describes Vaijayanti mala is not a mala of Vaijayanti flowers. There are 5 different varieties of flowers. When those 5 flowers are put in one garland, that is called Vaijayanti mala. So Krishna is always wearing Vaijayanti mala, and he is playing his flute. Randhran Veno Adhara Sudhaya Purayan. He is he is pouring the nectar from his heart into the holes of the flute. Vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravishat Gita Kirti. As he's entering, playing the flute along with his friends, all of them are glorifying Krishna and is agitating the minds of the gopis. So this is about the beauty of Krishna. Somewhere, as these woodcutters, lakkad hare re, thak, thak, lekin ga rahe, beauty of Krishna. He heard. Shukdev Goswami heard the beauty of Krishna because when he was in the womb, he never saw Krishna. He just heard the assurance of Krishna. Now he is hearing the personal characteristics of Krishna. The second shloka that they sang is about when somebody is so great, he's so beautiful, he's Mayadish, he can give you assurance that Maya will not protect you. It's very difficult for that person to be very kind hearted. Usually, somebody who's very powerful is also very proud. Usually, somebody who's very powerful neglects ordinary people. The next shloka they chanted is about the mercy aspect of Krishna. So they said, Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jigham seya apayayad api asadhavi lebhe gatim dhatrim uchitam tatonyam kamva dayalum sharanam vrajema. This shloka says, this Krishna who is Mayadhish, this Krishna who is very beautiful, this Krishna who is very attractive is also the height of mercy. Why? Because Baki, the sister of Bakasur and Aghasur, Putana, when she came with lot of poison on her breast and she came to kill Krishna, Krishna did not pay attention to her action. Krishna paid attention to her intention. In our life, when somebody does something wrong to us, and after that he comes to us and says, Prabhu ji, मैंने गलती हो गया, actually मुझे वैसा नहीं बोलना था, वो गलती से मेरे मुंह से निकल गया, believe me, I am your well wisher. We say, जो भी है, तूने क्या बोला, उस दिन क्या बोला तू, सबके सामने क्या बोला. We give more importance to the action and we don't give importance to the intention, however much he may plead. Krishna saw 2 things in Putana. The intention was microscopic, matrutva. I want to feed this boy. But what was the action? The action was gross, put poison on the breast. It's not subtle. Intention is subtle. Thoughts are subtle. But action was gross to kill. So action gross hai to kill. And intention itna sa hai, feed like a baby. Krishna gave temporary reaction to the action and Krishna gave eternal reaction or eternal result to that small microscopic matrutva, motherly mood. So when this was heard by Shukdev, he said, this person is Mayadish. There is nobody as powerful as him. He's also very attractive. But this is something that has touched my heart. सुंदर लोगों की कोई कमी नहीं है. Beautiful people, they touch our eyes. Do beautiful people touch our hearts? Actually, real beauty is not the beauty that touches the eyes. Real beauty is beauty that touches the hearts. In the fourth canto, there is a very beautiful shloka. Snigdha pravrit ghanashyamam sarva saundarya sangraham. Shri Lord Shiva, he is glorifying the Lord and he's saying his color is like the darkish rain cloud and sarva saundarya sangraham. He is a summation of all saundarya. In the purport, if you see, Prabhupada writes, why is Krishna called Sarva Saundarya Sangraham? He says, the real beauty of Krishna is not just the facial beauty and everything. He said, the real beauty is his compassion. In the 88th chapter, the Vedas are glorifying Krishna. In one of the shlokas, in the Krishna book, Prabhupada writes, of all the qualities of Krishna, the greatest quality is his causeless mercy. So again and again, Krishna will be glorified for his beauty. But what is the most important, most beautiful quality of any person for that matter? If somebody has a beautiful face but acts very rudely with you, very arrogantly with you, you feel hurt. And somebody who may not be beautiful but acts very sweetly with you, you are touched and you remember that. So this person, Krishna, is the most powerful. He is very beautiful. Namo Pankaja Nabhaya, Namo Pankaja Malini, Namo Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankaj Angre. Everything is about him is lotus, 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 very beautiful. But the most important quality of Krishna is if you do something little bit for him with a positive attitude and you mess up royally, you hurt him, you really create a big difficulty for him. Krishna says, I don't even remember the difficulty. I just remember that sweet mood of service that this devotee had for me. After any one of us serves Krishna even a little bit, we may forget it, but Krishna will never forget it. Krishna will reward us for that little bit of service. So when this shloka glorified the mercy aspect of Krishna, Shukdev said, I want to meet this person. Powerful भी है, सुंदर भी है, लेकिन सबसे अच्छा गुण जो है इसमें कृपालु है. And Shukdev Goswami returned back to the ashram of Vyasa to hear more about this Krishna. So here we have one incident in which the glorification of Krishna or the Nama, the Rupa, Guna, Leela of Krishna is more powerful than the person Krishna. And that's why deity worship is a method, Dwapare Paricharyayam. In Dwapar Yuga, deity worship was the method to please Krishna. But in Kali Yuga, the sound vibration is more powerful. Why? Because look at Shukdev. Shukdev could not come back just by assurance, the power of Krishna. But Shukdev came back when he heard the glorification of Krishna. And that's why Kalau Tad Hari Kirtana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Shukdev finally came back. And his father Vyas Rishi is the compiler of all the Vedas. He has also compiled Vedanta. He wants to give his son the most priceless gift. So, ninth canto of the Bhagavatam, towards the end, it is described. Shukdev speaks to Parikshit. He says, my father had many disciples. Paila Rishi is one of them. Said, my father taught Paila Rishi the Puranas, but the essence of all the Vedas he did not teach to Paila Rishi. My father taught the essence of the Vedas to me. The father reserved the most important teachings of the Vedas. यह स्व अनुभावम अखिल श्रुति सारम एकम. सब श्रुतियों का सार क्या है? वो है भागवतम और वो एक ही है. बहुत सारे nobody can say this is also sar of Vedas, this is also sar of, no, अखिल श्रुति सारम एकम. So Shruti word has two meanings. Shruti means all the Vedas which are supposed to be heard. So Bhagavatam, which Vyasa taught to Shukdev when he returned back. अभी कब जाएगा मालूम नहीं ना, पहले विरक्ता है, ये चलते रहता है. कम समय में सिखाना है तो क्या सिखाएंगे? बहुत सारा विस्तृत सिखाएंगे कि कंडेंस सिखाएंगे? कंडेंस सिखाएंगे. वो कंडेंस क्या था? श्रीमद् भागवतम. So Vyasa taught Shukdev Bhagavatam, which is Akhila Shruti Saram Ekam. But Shruti is also one meaning, the general meaning, Laukika meaning of Shruti is hearing with the ears. So Akhila Shruti Saram also means that सुनने लायक जितनी भी वस्तुएं हैं उन सारे वस्तुओं में सबसे अच्छी वस्तु क्या है? श्रीमद् भागवत. Of all the things that can be heard by the ears, what is the best? That is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Shukdev Goswami heard the Bhagavatam And because he heard the essence of all the Vedas, which was never distributed to anybody else, and because he is at such a high level of consciousness right before his birth, when that young boy came there, all these yogis, gyanis, and karmis stood up. So now here we have a king like Parikshit who has two qualifications. He comes in a great family also, and his character is also great. And there comes this young boy whose family is also great, and his consciousness and his achievements also great. When these two personalities come together, then what is going to happen now? Something very great is going to happen. Prabhupada in one conversation was saying, every young man wants a girl like Sita, but he wants to keep himself like Ravan. He will not become Ram. So Lord Srila Prabhupada was explaining how when we want something special, then we have to deserve it. So Prabhupada was saying, if you have a character like Ram, then there is a chance that you will get a wife like Sita. If you have a character like Ravan, there is no way you are going to get Sita, right? So sometimes we also are like that. We may not be in husband-wife relationship, but we might want a very amazing, sweet, attentive audience. And sometimes, speakers have complaints against the audience. But from this example, we can see if you are somebody on the level of Shukdev, then you get an audience like Parikshit. So Parikshit is sitting there, nobody's coming to a conclusion, and Shukdev comes there, and Shukdev is ready, and Shukdev sits there, and Parikshit now tells him, my dear Shukdev Goswami, I have only two questions from you. In 7 days of time that is available to me, can you please tell me what are the duties of somebody in general and what are the duties of somebody who is about to die? Can you please tell me? Please tell me what is to be heard in connection with Krishna, and please tell me what is not to be heard if it is not connected to Krishna. तो मेरे को यहाँ वहाँ की बातें मत बताना, मेरे पास सीमित समय है, मुझे सारम सारम समुद्रित्य, मुझे essence of the essence of the essence of the essence दीजिए. So now Shukdev already knows the essence, and now he has a limited time of 7 days and 7 nights. Now Shukdev gave his own Bhagavatam class. If you hear any person's Bhagavatam class, then he takes one story from some from the Bhagavatam or the CC or NOD or from the Puranas or from the some other scriptures to prove one point, right? He'll take some incident from here, he'll take some story from here. When Shukdev gives a Bhagavatam class, what kind of stories will he speak? Shukdev will speak only that stories which are important to hear for somebody who does not have much time. And how much time do all of us have? We have very less time as compared to personalities in the previous age. We have less time, and that's why Srila Prabhupada carried the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Shukdev Goswami is very, very attentive, and he sees that this Shrota, this listener, is constantly just looking at my eyes like a chakora bird, and he's just absorbing every word that I'm speaking, and he is not even taking a single break for water, and he is not taking a break for any anna, he's not taking a break for even stretching himself. Shukdev Goswami also reciprocated with the eagerness of the audience, and he also did not take water, he also did not take grains, he also did not take a break. So usually we glorify Parikshit, 7 days, 7 nights, no bodily urges. What about Shukdev? Shukdev also did not have any break in between. And this is that wonderful conversation of Srimad Bhagavatam between these two. Shukdev is not just somebody who wants to give, he tested also. What he did, he spoke about the hellish punishments at the end of the 5th canto. And he saw what was Shukdev's transformation point. When did Shukdev transform? When did Shukdev think that, yes, I want to listen to the Bhagavatam from my father? When he heard the compassion of Krishna. So, the deepest quality in Shukdev's heart is compassion, right? So, he is speaking about the hellish punishments, and Parikshit heard it, and Parikshit said, I have a question. Can you please tell me that you spoke about 29 different hellish planets and people are undergoing hellish punishments there? Is there any method that people who are destined for hell can be saved from hell? ये सवाल जब परीक्षित ने पूछा, Shukdev understood. He is also on the compassion level because Parikshit is not going to hell. But why is Parikshit asking the method for saving people who are destined to hell? Why is he interested in people who are going to hell? Only one reason, compassion. So जब ये compassion की भाषा बोले तो इनके compassion की जो भावना थी हृदय में वो जागृत हो गई, बोले ये अपने बिरादरी का है. And that's how in the middle of Bhagavatam, Ajamil Vyakhyan comes. He says, I'll tell you how they can be saved. Most hellish people can be saved from hell. How? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's how that glories of the holy name comes. The sinful Ajamil was saved from hell. The story goes, 10th canto comes. 10th canto, the first demoness who attacked Krishna was Putana. So he's speaking about Putana. Khechari, she's traveling in, and Rudhirasana, she is a drinker of blood of babies. As soon as Shukdev speaks that, the eyes of Parikshit, because Parikshit is very attentively listening, Parikshit is absorbed in Katha. For Parikshit, it is not just a story, it is little baby Krishna was born, and the drinker of blood of baby's Putana has come to Nandagaon. And she's looking, hunting for Krishna. There is fear in the eyes of Parikshit. Shukdev sees the feeling of fear in the eyes of Parikshit. Shukdev is so happy. Shukdev stops the Katha and Shukdev says, wherever there is chanting of the holy names of Krishna, people are saved from inauspiciousness. What to speak of where that person Krishna is personally present. So we should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It is said when the Bhagavatam Katha was going on, Yamraj was sitting there, and till the time we are listening to the Bhagavatam, Yamraj cannot touch us. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Again ahead, there is a story of Brahma Vimohan Leela. And Shukdev says, the killing of Aghasur happened in Balya Leela. But the story was told in Pauganda Leela. Immediately, wait. What did you say? The killing of somebody, Aghasur, when he was being killed, the Devatas were hiding behind the clouds because they were afraid. If Aghasur is not killed, then Aghasur देखेगा ये लोग हंस रहे थे मेरे ऊपर बदला लूंगा करके. Demigods were afraid of Aghasur. That Aghasur's killing was not told for 1 year by the boys. Parikshit got it. Parikshit is just, attentively latching on to every single word that Shukdev is speaking, and Shukdev is also putting this kind of core, some tricks in between to catch. ध्यान से सुन रहा है क्या? एक मिनट. The killing happened in Balya Leela. How it was reported in Paugand Leela? एक साल तक पता नहीं. Aghasur Vad. Yes, I'll tell you something now. Why it happened? So then the Brahma Vimohan Leela story comes. So Parikshit is listening attentively, and that's why over the 7 days, Shukdev understands. He's compassionate, he's attentive, and he also feels for Krishna. क्योंकि कृष्ण के बारे में तो इसके आंखों में डर आ गया. So he wants to give the final permanent solution to Parikshit. He has already spoken about the holy names. He has already spoken about Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, sab ho gaya. But in the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, Shukdev makes the final hammer on Parikshit's heart. He wants Parikshit to go back home, back to Godhead. So he says, my dear Parikshit, अभी 7 दिन खत्म होने को आ गए. अभी आखिरी में मैं कुछ बताने वाला हूँ, तुमको ध्यान से सुनना तुम. So yes, my spiritual master, I'm listening attentively. He says, there are 4 types of pralaya. One is Nitya Pralaya. Nitya Pralaya means erosion that is every moment happening. Every moment his body is decaying. Nitya Pralaya. These trees, the leaves will fall. Nitya Pralaya. Second Pralaya, he says, is Prakrutik Pralaya. Prakrutik Pralaya means in cycle. Birth, old age, disease, death. Birth, old age, disease, death. Right? Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. Satya, Treta. Oh, cyclical. That is called Prakrutik Pralaya. Then he says the third kind of Pralaya is called Naimittik Pralaya. Naimittik Pralaya means it happens once in a while. So sometimes what happens, Brahma ji, he creates and Ubasi aati hai. Ubasi jab aati hai to the creation that is happening is neglected for 2 moments. But Brahma ji's 2 moments are lot many years here. So Pralaya happens. In between, suddenly Pralaya is there. That is called Naimittik Pralaya. And then Shukdev Goswami speaks what he wanted to speak. He says the fourth Pralaya is Atyantik Pralaya. And then he explains what is Atyantik Pralaya. Atyantik Pralaya means in the first 3 pralayas, our Prabhu mentioned there, sometimes the body is killed by a sword, but the thoughts and the ideologies are not converted. So in Nitya Pralaya, the body will die, but the karma and the thoughts, they give rise to the new body, right? Naimitic Pralaya also, you get absorbed in Karanodakshaya Vishnu's body. The next time when the creation happens, then you get another body as per your past karma and your desires, right? So Nitya, Naimitic and Prakrutik, you continue punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. You will come back to this world. You will get a material body. You will undergo birth, old age, disease, and death. He says this Atyantik Pralaya is the final Pralaya where the person loses all attachment for the material world. He does not have any false ego. He has only one ego. जीवेर स्वरूप होए कृष्णेर नित्यदास. मेरी पहचान केवल एक है, मैं भगवान का दास हूं. ये प्रलय होना जरूरी है, हे परीक्षित. And because Parikshit has been listening very attentively right from first word, and I gave you different examples, the last, अभी खत्म होने को आया समय, 7 दिन 7 रात, अभी कभी भी कुछ भी हो सकता है. When Shukdev speaks about आत्यंतिक प्रलय, Parikshit catches it. And Parikshit understands, ये heavy नहीं है, ये मुझे आखिरी सीख दे रहे हैं जिससे कि ये कंफर्म हो जाए कि मैं यहां से चला जाऊं. And at that moment, Shukdev, after he ends his teachings, he gets up and he leaves that place. And Shukdev Goswami, so Parikshit Maharaj, sits still, meditates on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and he actually undergoes Atyantik Pralay and leaves his body. And when that Takshak snake comes, which was supposed to bite Parikshit, it's actually to the dead body. So Parikshit did not go back home, back to Godhead because of the snake bite. Parikshit went back because he was absorbed in chanting the holy names of the Lord and hearing the katha of the Lord. Today we discussed about Shivji. When Daksha was blaspheming Shiva, Shiva was just sitting like this. Why? How could he tolerate all that? When Govardhan is lifted by Krishna like this, and there are these lightning bolts and so much thunderstorm and all that is happening, how could Govardhan tolerate all that? Because Govardhan was not focusing on the lightning that was happening from top. Govardhan was focusing on the touch of the little finger of Krishna at the bottom of Govardhan. When Shiva was undergoing the lightning bolts from Daksha's mouth, Shiva was focusing on Vasudeva Smaranam that was happening in his eyes, and that's why he could tolerate all that. Parikshit, how could he tolerate all the different injustice that has happened in his life? Because he was focusing on the lotus feet of the Lord, and he left this world with a happy consciousness, focusing on Krishna, went back to the spiritual world. And in this way, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first success story of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Parikshit Maharaj. And this success story happened right under this Akshaya Vat. So this tree is such a special tree. This tree has seen the first success story of Srimad Bhagavatam Katha in the form Parikshit Maharaj. He has seen, this tree has seen Shukdev Goswami speaking. Shukdev Goswami is speaking with complete absorption, and Parikshit Maharaj is listening with complete absorption. And when this kind of a Shrota Vakta relationship is there, then the success is assured. In Bhagavata Mahatmya section, there is one story of Gokarna and Dundubhi. There also, the story was being spoken and all the villagers were listening, but the villagers were not attentive. So when the Vaikuntha Viman came, then only one person went back, right? So all the villagers are thinking, अरे हमने भी कथा सुनी, लेकिन वैकुंठ विमान एक कोई लेके गया. So that time Gokarna says, actually he heard attentively, you did not hear attentively. So they say, we have one request. Can you speak same Bhagavatam Katha once more? This time we'll hear attentively. And there is a repeat Bhagavatam Katha now for the villagers, but now the villagers are hearing attentively. At the end of the second Katha, there are thousands and thousands of Vaikuntha Vimans come, and every single villager of that village sat in that Vaikuntha Viman and went back home, back to God. So that is the power of this place, Shuktal, and we are really very grateful to all the IYS Yatra organizers that they have brought us to such a holy place. All of us can pray to this tree that may we develop attention, attraction, affection for this Bhagavatam Katha. And actually, this appears as Smriti. Itihasas and Puranas are typically called as Smriti. Actually, the Bhagavatam appears like Smriti, but actually it is the highest Shruti. I'll give you an example. The Honorable Prime Minister of India, He is the Prime Minister, the highest person in the whole India, right? But he's also an MP for one of the cities of India. Which one? Varanasi. Right. So when he comes to Varanasi, if somebody says, "Ye to hamare MP hai," is he wrong? He is MP. But actually, the real glorification of the MP of Varanasi is he's not just one MP of Varanasi, he's leader of the parliament. He is the Prime Minister of the parliament. So actually, Shruti is considered to be higher than Smriti. And Bhagavatam, in our midst, it comes as Bhagavad Puran. So it comes in our midst as a Smriti. And so ordinary people of the world, we feel Upanishads are higher. The Mayavadis, they will say Upanishads are higher. This Puran, it's a lower class. But actually, the MP of Varanasi is not just MP of Varanasi, he is the Prime Minister of India. So although Srimad Bhagavatam appears as one of the 18 Puranas, it's not one of the Puranas. Actually, it is eternal Shruti. But it is so simple to hear. You cannot hear the Upanishads and understand something. But Srimad Bhagavatam is full of such nice, wonderful stories, ending with the glorification of Krishna. And through this simple Smriti like appearance, the Bhagavatam actually makes it easy for you and me. Samsarinam Karunaya Aha Purana Guhyam. Actually, Shukdev Goswami spoke it for the Samsaris. Shukdev Goswami spoke the highest Shruti in such a way that ordinary people of this world can also accept it. So, Samsarinam Karunaya Aha Purana Guhyam. This Shukdev Goswami, I just wanted to speak on one quality. He is the personal parrot of Radharani from the spiritual world, but he does not mention the name of Radharani throughout the Bhagavatam. Why so? Because he thinks if I speak the name of Srimati Radharani, then I'll go into a trance because I will think, oh, Radharani is so dear to Krishna, and I may end up stopping my katha. So, on one side, we glorify Shukdev Goswami as somebody who is completely absorbed in Krishna and is absorbed in Krishna Katha, but absorption does not mean a reduction in the sense of his duty for Parikshit. Why? Because he thinks this person has limited time. If I go into a trance thinking about Radharani and Krishna, that much time will be lost and I may not be able to guide Parikshit proper. So, on one side, he's absorbed in Krishna, but his sense of duty for his disciple is not affected by his absorption, and he dutifully keeps his absorption aside and focuses on the emergency at hand, that guiding his disciple. So this is something very unique to the Vaishnavas. Sometimes people in this world, they get so absorbed in their duties that they don't have any time for absorption in Krishna. And there are some people who are not Vaishnavas, they are so much absorbed in Krishna, 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 Krishna. But if somebody says, Prabhuji, you're so absorbed in Krishna, there is this person who's suffering because of 3 modes of nature, can you come and guide him? They say, I will not, I don't have time for guidance. इनके सवाल, प्रभु जी लस्टी थॉट्स को कैसे कंट्रोल करना है, मुझे गुस्सा आता है कैसे कंट्रोल करो, ये सब फालतू फालतू सवालों को गाइड करने के लिए मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है, मैं तो राधा कृष्ण के बारे में मनन करता हूँ. There are many people who are absorbed in Krishna, but they don't have time to help the college students of Bombay, Pune, and all the other places. Why? Our problems are what? 2 paisa worth of problems. कहाँ मैं मेरी valuable human form of life and this absorption in Krishna I have got, I should not waste in solving these problems of the college students. And there are people who want to help the college students. They are not absorbed in Krishna. They will give you 2 paisa worth of solutions for your problems. They will tell you meditate. Somebody says go and talk to the trees. When you go and talk to the trees, you feel nice. And in between the absorbed people who don't have time and people who have time but they are not absorbed is His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and his followers, who was completely absorbed in Krishna. He carried Srimad Bhagavatam with him as the only solution for the world. But staying in Radha Damodar temple where all the 6 Goswamis would come together every day to discuss Nana Shastra Vichar, that would happen in Radha Damodar temple. He was a resident of Vrindavan in Radha Damodar temple. But Samsarinam Karunayah Purana Guhyam. Srila Prabhupada left Vrindavan, left Radha Damodar temple for you and me. Prabhupada could see how all of you were suffering. So he is also deeply absorbed in Krishna. Brahmanand Prabhu one time asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, was there a time in your life when you forgot Krishna? Prabhupada thought about this and said, in this lifetime I never forgot Krishna. So here is somebody who is completely absorbed in Krishna, but is also wanting to help people at the level at which they are. So this is the parampara of Krishna. Very powerful but very merciful. This is the parampara of Vyasa, very powerful, but wrote it down out of mercy for you and me. This is the parampara of Shukdev Goswami, very powerful but very merciful. 7 days and 7 nights did not speak about Radharani. Why? Helping a person in problem is more greater than my absorption in my deity. You cannot separate compassion from a Vaishnava. Bhakti Vinod Thakur is saying, prema for the Lord is reflected in the material world in the form of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So this is the parampara of Krishna, Vyasa, Shukdev, and in all our lives, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we should all pray to this tree that may we develop the highest absorption in Bhagavatam, may we develop the highest absorption in the holy name, but not at the cost of helping the Manushya Samaj of here. So we should increase our preaching. We should help our friends. Please get one more friend of yours for the next IYS Yatra. Why? There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. So I requested our Pradyumna Mishra Prabhu to put one shloka on the WhatsApp group of the Yatra. This is glorification of the Bhagavatam. We'll chant this one shloka. We are at Shuktal. This is glorification of the Bhagavatam, and then we'll end the class. So I'll request all the devotees to kindly open your WhatsApp and on the group. Have you received that shloka? You have received? So this is Canto 12, shloka, chapter number 13, shloka number 18. All of you have received? Can you raise your hand who has received? Yes? So we'll sing it together. Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll chant so that you know the tune, and we'll sing it from our hearts to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsyamekamalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyama Vishkritam Tachrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchenara. So translation we'll all sing together. Please don't chant this translation with your lips. Please chant this translation with your heart. This is the Akshavat who's listening to our chanting of the translation. Please seek blessings from this Akshavat. We can also develop absorption. We can also develop compassion. Translation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Puran. It is most dear to the Vaishnavas because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. This Bhagavatam reveals the means for becoming free from all material work, together with the processes of transcendental knowledge, renunciation, and devotion. Anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki! Jai Shri Shukdev Goswami Maharaj ki! Jai Shri Parikshit Maharaj ki! Jai Krishna Kripa Murti A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki! जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल जय शुक्ताल धाम की